Wrath of a mother. The price of arrogance. The Galactic Empire did not fear humanity. To them, humans were insignificant, just another species to conquer, just another world to burn. The Empire had crushed civilizations older and grander than humanity. So when a human colony on Vetra 9 refused to pay imperial tribute, the Empire made an example of them. They sent an execution squad. 1,200 children were lined up against a steel wall and slaughtered in cold blood. It was supposed to be a message. Instead, it was a mistake. Because one of those children had a mother. And that mother was General Cassandra Voss, a woman whose name made entire war councils tremble. Chapter 2. The Silence Before the Storm. When news reached Cassandra Voss, she did not scream. She did not cry. She sat in silence, staring at the report. Her son, Lucas, age 9. Gone. Her daughter, Amelia, age 7. Gone. Along with thousands of other children, executed like cattle. A lesser woman might have been broken by grief. But Cassandra Voss did not break. She sharpened. She had once served in the Human Defense Corps, commanding legions, fighting wars. But politics had driven her into exile. The Empire believed she had vanished, a relic of old conflicts. They were wrong. Now, she had only one purpose. Vengeance. Chapter 3. The Gathering Storm. Cassandra's first move was to call upon the exiled legions, soldiers who had once fought under her banner, warriors who had been cast aside by the Empire. They answered. Across the outer systems, abandoned war fleets flickered to life. Forgotten colonies pledged allegiance. Mercenary captains swore their ships to her cause. And from the darkness of uncharted space came the Black Armada, a fleet of rogue warships, each more deadly than the last. Within a month, she had an army. Within 2, she had a fleet. And in the 3rd month, she began the slaughter. Chapter 4. The Fall of the First World. The Empire's first mistake had been underestimating Cassandra Voss. Their second was thinking they could stop her. Her first target was Drenval 4, an imperial world responsible for supplying the execution squads. She did not send a warning. She did not offer surrender. She simply arrived. The Black Armada descended upon Drenval 4 like a storm, raining fire and fury. Imperial defenses crumbled within hours. No mercy was given. No prisoners were taken. And when the fires died down, she left a message carved into the ruins. For every child you killed, a world will burn. Chapter 5. Terror in the Stars. Fear spread through the Empire. This was no ordinary rebellion. This was a mother's vengeance. She struck supply lines, command centers, shipyards, shattering the Empire's war machine piece by piece. Imperial governors abandoned their posts. Admirals defected rather than face her wrath. Even the Emperor himself, the tyrant Valus II, felt the chill of fear. He sent entire battle fleets to stop her. She destroyed them all, not with numbers, not with strength, but with ruthlessness. She did what no imperial commander dared to do, she made them suffer. Chapter 6. The Emperor's Reckoning. At last, there was only one place left to strike. The imperial capital, Salvaris Prime. Cassandra's fleet arrived in the dead of night, slipping past the defenses like wraiths. By the time the Empire realized what was happening, it was too late. The imperial palace burned. The great spire, symbol of the Empire's might, crumbled. And in the throne room, Cassandra Voss stood over the bleeding body of Emperor Valus II. He coughed, choking on his own blood. You cannot defeat the Empire. Cassandra knelt beside him, her voice cold as the void. The Empire is already dead. It just doesn't know it yet. Then, she plunged her knife into his throat. Chapter 7. The Legend of Cassandra Voss. The Galactic Empire did not survive Cassandra Voss. It crumbled, devoured by chaos, rebellion, and vengeance. Her war was not just about justice. It was about fear, and the Empire had learned to fear her. For in the vastness of space, where tyrants reigned and empires rose and fell, nothing was more terrifying than a mother whose children had been taken from her. The mother's wail. The Galactic Empire's war machine never stopped. It swallowed planets, devoured civilizations, and left entire star systems in ruin. Its rulers sat upon thrones of steel and blood, believing themselves untouchable. But they made a mistake. A fatal, irrevocable mistake. They killed her child. Her name was Admiral Celine Voss, and once, she had been one of their greatest warriors. A tactician of unmatched brilliance, a commander feared across the void, a loyal servant to the Empire. She had spilled oceans of blood in its name, had conquered worlds for its glory. Then, the Empire took everything from her. Her daughter, Lyra, only 7 years old, was executed as a lesson to rebellious colonies. The Empire did not tolerate defiance, and they believed no one, not even one of their own, was exempt. They thought Admiral Voss was broken. They thought wrong. The birth of vengeance. Celine did not weep. She did not beg. She did not break. She became something else. Something terrifying. She disappeared from the Empire's ranks. They assumed she was dead, lost in grief. What they didn't realize was that she was preparing for war, for revenge. She resurfaced 5 years later, not as the Admiral of the Empire, but as the Reaper of the Void. She had gathered an army, exiled generals, defected fleets, entire planetary militias willing to die for her cause. She turned the Empire's abandoned weapons against them, raised hidden fleets from forgotten war zones. She hacked into Imperial battle networks, learned their weaknesses, their fears. Then, she struck. The first slaughter. The Imperial fortress world of Oberon Prime was her first target. A planet-sized military installation, home to 6 billion soldiers, countless weapons, and the very officers who had signed her daughter's execution order. Celine's forces descended like the wrath of the gods. Stealth cruisers bypassed planetary defenses. Saboteurs poisoned atmosphere processors. Virus-laced AI turned defense grids against their own troops. By the time the Empire realized what was happening, the world was already lost. 6 billion screams echoed into the void. Celine left one survivor, a lone admiral, broken and bloodied, to deliver her message. I am coming. The fall of kings. The Empire panicked. They declared her the most wanted terrorist in history. They sent entire fleets to hunt her down. She burned them all. Every battle she fought, she won. Every world she touched, she liberated or destroyed. She was no longer human, she was vengeance incarnate. The Empire's citizens began to whisper her name, not as a traitor, but as a legend. Rebel planets rose in her wake, defectors swelled her ranks, and soon, even Imperial officers began to switch sides. The Empire was crumbling. At last, she reached the Imperial core, where the Emperor himself cowered behind his golden throne. She did not ask for surrender. She did not give him mercy. She dragged him from his palace, just as they had dragged her daughter to her death. And as she stood over his beaten body, watching his fear-stricken eyes, she whispered her final words. Now you know. And with that, the last emperor of the Galactic Empire died screaming. Epilogue. The reign of the Reaper. The Empire fell. But Celine did not stop. She had become something greater than a mother, greater than a soldier. She had become the storm that reshaped the galaxy. For every child the Empire had stolen, for every mother who had wept, she rewrote history in blood and fire. And in the silence of the void, her daughter's name echoed forever. Lyra, the spark that burned the stars. The execution. The Galactic Empire thought it had broken her. General Cassandra Vale had once been the most feared warrior of the human dominion. A legend in every battle she waged, she tore through imperial fleets with the precision of a surgeon and the ferocity of a storm. But when the Empire finally captured her, they did not kill her. No, death would have been mercy. Instead, they made her watch. Her son, Isaac, barely 10 years old, was dragged before the cameras of the Empire's broadcast networks. Shackled in chains too heavy for his small frame, forced to kneel before the gathered elite of the Imperial core worlds, he was sentenced to death. The charge, being the son of a monster. The Imperial magistrate read the sentence aloud, his voice cold and detached. Let this serve as a message to all who would defy the Emperor. No enemy of the Empire will be allowed to breed more rebellion. Cassandra screamed, fought, tore at her restraints, but the inhibitor collar around her neck rendered her powerless. She locked eyes with her son in his final moments. He did not cry. He did not beg. He only smiled at her, lips trembling, whispering the last words she would ever hear from him. I love you, Mom. And then, the energy lance struck his chest, and he crumpled to the cold metallic floor. The crowd cheered. The Empire had made a mistake. Chapter 1. The Escape. Cassandra Vale did not break. She burned. For 6 months, they kept her in a maximum security prison on Tarsus Prime, believing her broken. The guards sneered at her, spat at her, mocked her loss. They thought the fire had died in her eyes. But fire does not die. It smolders. It waits. Then, one fateful night, the lights flickered, alarms blared, and explosions shook the prison. The walls crumbled as the Dominion's elite strike force stormed in. The Empire had underestimated how much humanity would bleed for its fallen general. They freed her, armed her, and as she stepped over the bodies of the Imperial guards, she whispered only 2 words. Burn everything. Chapter 2. The Reckoning. Cassandra did not return to the Dominion. She did not seek shelter. She sought war. One by one, she hunted those responsible. The prison warden was first, found hanging from the walls of his own fortress, skinned and broken. The Imperial judge who read Isaac's sentence was next. His ship was ripped from hyperspace and left adrift, his screams broadcasted on every Imperial channel. Fear spread. Rumors whispered through the Empire. The Red Widow had returned. Entire garrisons deserted upon hearing her name. Governors fled their planets. Imperial officers refused to accept assignments near her last known locations. But it was not enough. Cassandra wanted more. Chapter 3. The Empire Burns. She did not strike like a conqueror. She struck like an executioner. One by one, Imperial planets burned. Cities reduced to ash. Military outposts annihilated. The core sectors, once thought untouchable, were now battlegrounds. Then, she sent a message. A simple transmission to the Imperial capital. I was merciful once. You repaid me with the blood of my son. Now, the time for mercy is over. The Emperor himself was forced to address the growing panic. His fleets, once the most powerful force in the galaxy, were now ghosts of their former strength, scattered, demoralized, afraid. Because they knew. She was coming. Chapter 4. The Throne Falls. When Cassandra reached the Imperial Palace, it was not a battle. It was a massacre. The guards barely resisted. The noble families, those who had laughed as her son died, screamed as fire engulfed their homes. The Imperial magistrate, the one who had read Isaac's death sentence, was dragged through the streets, his body broken, his pleas ignored. And then she stood before the Emperor. The most powerful man in the galaxy. The one who had ordered Isaac's execution. She did not give him a speech. She did not let him beg. She took her blade and ended him, just as he had ended her son. Epilogue. The name that endures. The empire did not recover. What remained of its forces scattered, its territories fell into chaos. And the name Cassandra Vale became legend. A whispered warning to all tyrants who would dare harm the innocent. Because when they killed her child, they did not just make an enemy. They unleashed a reckoning.